All right, welcome to the WolfShadePodcast. We are on episode 54. I'm your host, Anthony Wren, aka WolfShade, and I'm bringing you another episode, a good episode with me today. And the guest that I have with me today is very renowned casting director, author, actor. He got his own upcoming shows, upcoming movies, upcoming books coming up. Mr. Ronald Farham, how you doing today?
Hey, what's up? Thanks, Anthony. Good to be on your show. Thanks for the
Thank you.
intro.
Thank you. Well, how are you doing today?
Good. Actually, I have been talking to my editor back and forth today through Facebook Messenger. He's in New York.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in Florida. Well, it's a
Mm-hmm.
husband and wife team. And Tracy Kring, she's my editor for my next movie. So we're like really close to getting the final cut down. And
Mm-hmm.
I just sent them the final cast list. They get the intro slides, the credits, the movie's all laid out. I had sent them CDs with all the background music that my
Mm-hmm.
composer out in LA, Gerald Mattis, did. And so they're done laying in the music. She's using some AI tools to clean up the dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
So the movie should be ready to go. I'm hoping I'll be able to take it to a festival this summer, like June or July, because I really want to get it into a good film festival or film market.
Okay. And how long you been working on the film?
Uh, well, the film is called Horrorscope, HorrorScope, and I
Mm-hmm.
started working on that about 6 years ago. I
Mm-hmm.
wrote the script, um, and then it took me a while to get the script written, maybe about 6 months. Then I did pre-production and development and got ready, and then I had to do all the casting. That took like another year of getting everything organized. Then it took me
Mm-hmm.
about maybe a year to shoot it, and now it's been about a year in editing between my editing and the editor. So it's been about a
Mm-hmm.
5 or 6 year process. Most
Okay.
movies take a while. I'm in the middle of writing a screenplay right now,
Mm-hmm.
and that I'm going to turn into my next movie. And then I just finished another screenplay and published a book. I sent you the link for the Cocoa Beach Kids.
Mm-hmm.
That's about living in a computer simulation. So uh, it can take anywhere from 6 months to a few years to get a movie from some idea into a script and then start fleshing it out for shoot and production.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can tell, being the process of just making that type of stuff can be, a very, not really a pain and agonizing thing, but it takes time consuming because, as a writer myself, I know it takes time like trying to write certain stuff and trying to you know, bring it into fruition, like bring it to life and pretty much. So I understand how that process goes and everything because I got a lot of stuff that
You
I'm
got to be able
releasing.
to dedicate your time to it.
Yeah,
Like
oh,
if you're like I live with my girlfriend, and she knows that I need to set aside time to write almost every day or work on a
mm-hmm,
project or whatever, and I get peace and quiet for a few hours, at a time, on top of working on like all kinds of other stuff. So you got to just be able to sit down and write, and then
mm-hmm,
there's more to just writing. Then when you're going to produce it, there's all the stuff that goes with doing the budget, getting the locations,
mm-hmm,
casting it. I
mm-hmm.
mean everything. There's a lot to making a movie.
Yeah, I it's just a lot when it's just making steps. I feel like, writing be the most challenging because when you're trying to write and like get your ideas out there into film, not just, a piece of paper when you're writing it, and especially with writing books too. I feel like that process is kind of challenging, but also kind of fun, as a writer myself. And then with your your history in acting and all of that, and then from reading about your past careers and stuff like that, and your previous movies. If I'm not mistaken, what was it like? I think I was reading one when we talked before. I think you worked on one in 2010 called, I think it was 1 in 7 million, I believe.
Oh yeah, yeah, 1 in 7 million. Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that because I just talked to that director last week,
hmm
and when I was just getting into acting here in Florida,
Mm-hmm.
my buddy had moved to Vegas and was shooting a movie. He had moved to Los Angeles and was shooting a
Mm-hmm.
movie out in the valley near Van Nuys.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom and I was in town from Tampa, and because I was working at Central Command over at MacDill Air Force Base,
Mm-hmm.
I went over to visit my family, my mom and stuff. While I
Mm-hmm.
was on the weekend, me and my wife at the time drove over. She's like, "Hey, Edwin, he's in Los Angeles making a movie."
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "Really?" So I called him up and I was like, "Hey, man, you're in LA making a movie. I've been wanting to go to LA." And he goes, "Dude, I need crew. If you want to come on out?" I was like, "When are you shooting?" He's like, "I'm shooting next week." So I was like, "All right." So I took like 10 or 11 days off from my government job and I flew to LA and like lived in
Mm-hmm.
his house and did
Mm-hmm.
production with him. And I even had a role in the movie. And we just made that happen. We shot that movie in 11 days.
Wow.
And every night after we would shoot, we would go back. He would download all of his footage and we would watch the footage and just, he's a really good director, really good with a camera, setting up shots. He had a shot list every day, so we didn't waste time. There was no guesswork. We showed up, we set up the scene, we shot it. The actors were prepared, and
Mm-hmm.
he's like, "All right, I got that shot. Let's move to the next one. All right, next one is boom, boom, boom." And I did sound, camera, props. We were like a 3 or 4 man crew. A lot of times I'm holding the boom mic in that, or
Mm-hmm.
running the camera while he's running the mic, depending on how we had the shot set up, or
Mm-hmm.
and his wife, she was also a producer. She helped with dialogue and stuff. So it was just the three of us. And one dude quit. It was four, but one dude quit in the middle of like the first day. He had gone to film school, and he decided like that first day, like that this wasn't for him anymore. And
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't go out there to get paid. I don't think Edwin was paying his friend Chris, I think his name was. But
Mm-hmm.
I went out there just to be part of the movie, and I had a
Mm-hmm.
role in it too. And I was like, I'm into working on projects for more than just like money. Sometimes it depends on the project and who it is and stuff. But yeah, that movie was about putting together a band that just the band is good. They're trying to make it famous in the music business, and they're that
Mm-hmm.
close, and it all just falls apart.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty good. It's got kind of
One in
fun work.
7 million. You can actually go on YouTube and see that movie. It's a good movie.
Okay.
Well shot and
Okay.
edited. Good sound.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to check that out when I get a chance. But from past stuff, I was reading more about you too. Okay, let me know if I'm not mistaken on this, but when I was reading more about you and your history and acting and all this other stuff too. When I was looking you up, I seen the America's Got Talent thing. Was that you too? Yeah. So I was like, wait,
It
he was on
always
America.
goes to the plungers.
Yeah, I was like, wait, I was reading about it, and then when I was reading, I was like, oh, that's funny. So you're so so you was on
I was
America's
in
Got Talent.
LA at the time.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I was in LA at the time, and I was up in the middle of the night. I was writing a script, actually. I was writing Hollywood and Vine. And I took
Mm-hmm.
a break. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning. I was living in North Hollywood on Magnolia Boulevard with my buddy
Mm-hmm.
Scott DuPont.
Yeah.
And I took a break. I would stay up all night, work all day. It was living in LA, man. You can go 24/7 with always having something to do.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm making my movie and I'm writing it right now and I'm going to film it. And I did that. I wrote Hollywood and Vine. So I took a break in the middle of the night and looked on Craigslist for talent gigs in LA because I was always trying to book auditions and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw this gig for this production company was looking for people that could do like a list of things. And one of them was throw plungers. And I played Division I college baseball, and I still play. I'm a left-handed pitcher. In fact, I'm playing in a tournament at the end of this month, Memorial Day in Atlanta, the Peach
Nice.
State Classic. I'm pitching for the
Nice.
Americans Baseball Club.
Nice.
So I was like, I can throw plungers. So I got up in the middle of the night, set up a table, grabbed a plunger, and put up a camera. I was like, hey, whoever this is, I think it was Guinness World Records Gone Wild.
Okay.
Because America's Got Talent saw me on Guinness World Records Gone Wild. And I'll send you that video. I have that video on my Rumble channel of me on Guinness World Records too. So I was like, hey, Guinness World Records gone wild. I can throw plungers. I played college ball, and one time in the military, I threw a plunger and stuck to a window, and they called me the plunger guy. And
That's
so I made
funny.
the video, and I was like, here, watch. And I had a table set up behind me, and I turned around and threw the plunger, and it was like, boom. I was like, all right, see, look, I can throw plungers. So they called me up like the next day or a couple of days later, and they're like, hey, we want you to come and try and break the world record plunger throwing on Guinness. I was like, all right. And so I went there and I tried to do it, and I failed. But a couple of weeks later, I got an email in my Yahoo email account, which I hardly ever checked. And I was checking it just to clear out trash because I use it for
Hmm.
certain things. I got like 15 different email accounts for all kinds of different parts of my life. It's like my
Hmm.
life is compartmentalized by email addresses. So
Yeah.
anyway, I see this email like, hey, is this the Ronald Farnham who threw plungers on Guinness World Records Gone Wild? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, hey, you want to come and do that on America's Got Talent? And I was like, all right, cool. So I showed up. I recruited a few targets off the streets of LA right there on Hollywood Boulevard. It's like at the
Hmm.
right across the street from the Hollywood and Vine train station at the Pantages Theater was where we shot. I paid a couple of homeless people in cigarettes, and my buddy Scott Kim, who I had written a book with, Harry Johnson, Diary of a Gigolo Porn Star. We wrote that book together, and
Hmm.
Howard Stern was going to be on set that day on America's Got Talent. So I told my buddy Scott, I was like, hey man, I'm gonna be on America's Got Talent. He's like, hey, Howard Stern's on America's Got Talent. I was like, yeah. He goes, hey. I go, look, why don't you fly to LA and we'll give Howard one of our, copy of Dirty Harry, Harry Johnson. And so he was a target, and then a buddy of mine who was a SAG actor who I knew from on set. I called him up, Giovanni. I was like, hey man, will you come out to Pantages and let me throw plungers at you on America's Got Talent? And he's like, yeah, dude, I'm down, whatever. And he showed up. And then a buddy of mine who was a bass player in the band The Area, they got their song "Are You Ready to Rock" in Hollywood and Vine. He came out, and then it was like two or three homeless people for cigarettes. One guy,
Okay.
he was so old and his skin was so thin. The producer came up to me and she was like, "Look, that dude can't go up there and have you get hitting him with plungers. His skin will tear. It'll just
Uh,
be this is not what we want America's Got Talent to be about." So I was like, "All right, I'll go tell him." I was like, "Here, man, here's your cigarettes. I'm sorry, your skin's too thin to get hit by plungers." He's like, "Thanks, man." And then he had his cigarettes and he was okay as long as he got his cigarettes. But yeah, that was an experience.
yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah, I was reading about it and I was like throwing plungers. That must be so fun. And then I seen the video, then I seen the video too. I was just like, man, because I used to play, high school football, a little bit of college like back then. And then when you mentioned, college, you said baseball, softball, right? And then when you
Baseball,
mentioned,
college
yeah,
baseball.
yeah, baseball, I was like,
played
yep,
Division I college baseball at Samford University in Birmingham, Alabama. I
nice,
pitched
nice,
against
nice,
Auburn, UAB, Florida State, Georgia Tech, all Vanderbilt, SEC. I was SEC.
nice, nice,
I
nice.
almost played college basketball, junior college basketball here in Florida, but I went to this school to be a pitcher, and I just figured I was just so busy working that I didn't want to play two sports, so I just stuck with baseball instead of basketball. I was going to be
Yeah,
a point guard.
yeah, that makes sense.
I'm
It
good.
was
My birthday is February 17th, same day as Michael Jordan. So, and
nice.
I shoot kind of like Michael. I shoot free throws like Michael. I got perfect professional arc on my shot where it's like nothing but net, like a splash brother. I don't
Yeah,
shoot a flat shot. I release high, and I get a lot of perfect backspin. The ball just drops straight in. That's how I like
yeah,
to shoot.
yeah. So you pretty much got the
So,
birthday of a goat, pretty much. You got the goat birthday.
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah. And I'm
awesome.
hoping to be a goat as a actor, writer, producer, director, author, with all that stuff. Because my whole purpose with everything I write, my production company is called Enlightenment Through Entertainment Productions
Hmm.
Inc. In fact,
Hmm.
I just got my EIN number. I waited a couple of years before I got my EIN number, but I got it because I'm gonna be producing these movies on a higher budget level now, especially with AI. Where my goal with my next movie I'm gonna be
Hmm.
doing
Hmm.
that's going to be all AI generated. I'm going to create
Yeah.
avatars, and I can go shoot the B-roll footage. And I got connections in Los Angeles, so I'm going to license the image and voice of B and C listers and
Mm-hmm.
then drop them onto the avatar. So I can probably license their image for 25, 50,000, maybe spend $150,000 making a good movie with stars on the poster, as opposed to
Mm-hmm.
having to spend like 750,000 or 600,000 or $1 million to make the same movie. And it'll be better quality and it'll be quicker to make. With
Mm-hmm.
Chat GPT and text to video, I can just
Yeah.
drop frickin' the text into the AI video generator and it'll just, create everything, the whole world that I need right then and there. You can have a whole. I was making videos last night for my Rumble channel using AI text to video. I was using
Mm-hmm.
InVideo and another one. I can't remember the name of it right now.
Mm-hmm.
Synthesia.io. And man, you just text it in. I drop in a script, like a one-page script. It makes me a 2.5-minute video in like 3 minutes.
Wow.
And it's production ready. I don't have to do anything. I upload it. It's got narration, graphics, motion graphics, stock
Yeah.
footage, everything. Perfect.
Hmm.
So
And when you mentioned you said the EDI, does that getting that process normally take a while in order to make the high budget films or anything like that? You said it took like
the what?
you said
What
yeah,
process?
you mentioned something that took 4 to 5 years that you got recently.
Well, Horoscope. The movie Horoscope is being edited
Okay.
right now. That took me about. I started shooting that around 2017.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
started writing it around 2016. Started shooting it. I remember the slate is like 2017, like May
Mm-hmm.
2017.
Okay.
So from idea to script to shooting to editing, and I'm still waiting on the final output, is, 6, 7 years. These kids that were in my movie were like 9 and
Little
10,
like little
and now they're
babies and now
15
they
and
grown
16.
up.
Yeah, they were like 4.5 feet tall. Now my one nephew, he's 6'3",
Wow.
and
Oh
so
wow. I'm only an
he's
inch
going to
taller
see
than him.
himself as a little kid. And they did a good job in the movie. It was good. I used a 3-camera setup to shoot every scene because I was working with kids.
Mm-hmm.
The movie is about these 5 kids from ages like 7 to 13, and they want to be world famous YouTube sensations like Justin Bieber. So
Mm-hmm.
they decide to have a seance and sell their soul to the devil through the spirit of Aleister Crowley. And then
Mm-hmm.
one of them gets possessed, and anyway, it's a tragedy. But there's also a lesson, and the lesson is don't sell your soul to the devil for fame and fortune. Okay,
That is
Hollywood?
very true.
But yeah, so I used a 3-camera setup because I was working with kids, and a lot of times I was having to feed them their lines,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted to be able to have a bunch of different angles from the same take, so that I
Mm-hmm.
had good continuity throughout the whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked out good because the editor was able to piece it together, and it flows nice. So
All right.
I'm happy with how it turned out.
All right.
You would
And
never know what a train wreck filming with kids is. I mean, from day one, I thought it wasn't even going to happen. The kids were fighting because they all were nieces and nephews and brothers and sisters, or cousins, and brothers and sisters. And they
mm-hmm.
were fighting constantly. Parents had to step in and go, "You will not yell like that. You do your lines like you're being told. You're," like we had to. It was, there wasn't any child abuse that went on, but we had to get stern with them a couple times to make the movie happen.
Yeah, I
So,
know. I know filming with children is not easy because it's been a bunch of times where I worked on other stuff where I was like this close to losing my mom, but I was like, mm-mm. The children, they don't know better. It's like, okay, let me just do this and everything. And I understand where you're coming from, but congrats to the success of the movie, though. I know it took, I know that took a good minute with the, obviously the years, the filming, obviously the pandemic kind of messed everything up too and everything. So congrats
oh
on
yeah,
to you on that.
yeah, my life is totally different than it was when I started that project, and it's still not done. In fact, there's a dog that's in that movie that's dead now.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's kind of morbid. Max, a big English Mastiff,
hmm
he passed away a few years ago. I mean, way after we had wrapped, but He's in the movie. There's another dog. There's another dog in the movie that's dead. Uh, so two
It's a,
dead dogs from that movie by the time this movie's getting out. In fact,
yeah,
in the credits, I should put in loving memory of Max, the big English Mastiff.
yeah,
I got to send that to the editor.
yeah. I would I would say because like a lot of things kind of changed, like filming wise and everything due to the pandemic. But I can go on long hours about that type of thing. But from
Well,
reading,
honestly, I don't know if your crowd knows about what happened during the pandemic and because of the pandemic in Hollywood, but because of the shutdown and the strike and the renegotiation of the SAG-AFTRA contract with the AMPTP, the American Motion Picture and Television Producers,
hmm
American Motion Picture and Television Producers, they are using they rewrote this contract with us that's going to make it so that this AI thing is going to take over Hollywood and motion picture production, and it's going to put a lot of background actors and below five lines and below actors out of work because
yeah,
all the background can be generated via AI, and now the extras on set in the major shooting cities like New York, Atlanta,
hmm
LA, New Orleans, Boston, Toronto, San Diego, they're all going to the talent on set are getting paid $150 to step into a scanning machine with like
hmm
24 cameras in it that takes their picture from all angles, and then
hmm
they sign away their image in perpetuity, meaning that once they get that $150 and they've signed that document, their image can be used in all kinds of stuff. The metaverse that's coming out, where we can augment ourselves to the World Wide Web, live in
hmm
virtual reality, and all these movies that are being made with extras in it, they're just going to
yeah.
be images that people sold out for $150, and they're not going to be able to work again. They're not going to be necessary. So the film industry is changing.
So pretty much, it's just you don't pretty much got to be dead or alive. If you sign that thing, you can pretty much be in the film in the afterlife too. Pretty much correct, right?
In perpetuity throughout the universe. That's the phrase. That means, yeah, you're dead. You see Marilyn Monroe and Elvis and their images everywhere. It's because they signed away their images.
that
So that's
that's
why I decided to jump on the AI bandwagon early and just go in and go, all right, I'm going to be I'm going to start producing all my movies with AI because that's the trend. And it makes it so that the independent filmmaker can make quality multi-million dollar looking movies for $10,000, really, if they do it right,
yeah,
for
that's
nothing. I made a horoscope for nothing, my next movie, because it was all friends and family. And we
yeah.
were all locked down during, I had moved back to Florida and was taking care of my mom. She wasn't doing well. And so I
hmm
decided to shoot a movie. I had left LA and come back here, and I was like, all right, I'm going to make a movie. And I
hmm
wrote it. I decided what it was going to be. I think I was hanging out with my nieces and nephews, and we were talking about something. I go, I'm going to make a movie about that and call it
hmm
Horoscope. And I started writing it like right then and there. And within a
hmm
few months, it was done. I printed out a bunch of copies of the script, and
hmm
then I casted it. Everyone in that movie, I specifically wrote their part for them as I
hmm
went because I knew who was going to be in it. I have a book on Amazon called How to Write a Screenplay in 30
hmm
Days or Less. It teaches
hmm
you how to write your screenplay in 30 days or less by creating the synopsis. You write a 25 word log line, and then you
hmm
write a synopsis, a beginning, a middle, and an ending, like a 3.5 page small synopsis, and then break that out into like 60 or 70 scenes, all with these different plot points, and then expand that into a screenplay, and then you're done. I mean, it's a simple process. I use the same process
Okay.
each time. So I was able to
Okay.
just do that. And as I knew who was going to be in it, I knew my beginning and my end, and I wrote a nice, interesting middle. And
hmm
then I filmed it. And
Okay.
then a couple of years later, we filmed one final scene where I'm not going to spoil it, but and then I hired a drone pilot earlier this year to come and shoot B-roll drone footage of the area where it was shot, and then I sent that to the editor, and then I sent the first cut of the movie out to Los Angeles to my buddy Gerald, and I had him score it. So he watched every scene and he wrote the music for every scene, put it on CD, mailed me the CDs. Then I mailed the CDs to New York to Tracy and John Kring, and then they dropped the music in, and now they're tightening up the dialogue and they're doing the title cards. And I wouldn't be surprised if I have a link by next week to look at it and give any feedback, and then I'm going to decide which festival and film market. I'm probably going to take it. It's funny, the American Film Market is every year at the Lowe's Hotel in Santa Monica in November, but this year they're not having it in LA, they're having it in Vegas. So this is like the first time I can remember the American Film Market being held in not at the Lowe's Hotel in Santa Monica Beach in LA.
It's been years, hasn't it?
I might fly out to Vegas with it for the American Film Market and sell it and lease it out there. Because I don't know if your audience knows that people don't sell their movie; they lease the distribution rights of a distributor to exhibit the movie.
Yeah, I literally explained that to them, like when I had one person on here, I think for episode 36. So I explained it's a long process when it comes to that. But yeah, best of luck to that, because I know, the type of process and everything is, it's not easy, but at the end of the day, you kind of gotta get it, get it done with everything. And then, prior to your career, I noticed from reading, you also worked on something called Time for a Change. What was working on that like?
Time for Change was a short film by a Full Sail film student at the time. And it's so funny because when I first started getting into acting, I was here in Florida and I was doing commercials and theater and had an agent and everything like that, but I was still working for the Department of Defense. So I went over to Full Sail for an interview to audition for the role in this movie. And Full Sail is a big time film college in Orlando, Florida.
Yeah.
And they got all of the equipment, sound stages, cameras, editing, everything. It's an expensive school to go to film school. It's one of the top film schools in the country. So I knew going there that I was going to get into a production that would give me a good reel footage, footage of me acting, because one of my goals, I like acting. I love acting. One of my next movies, I finally wrote myself a starring role for this new production I got coming out. But anyway, so I went over there and worked with him, and we shot it, and it went good. We shot it over about 3 days, and it was really quick shoot. And it was really good and efficient, and I had a lot of flexibility in my acting and my wardrobe too. And so I moved out to LA several years later, and I auditioned to be a character on one of those court TV shows. I played a porn video owner. And I show up there, and the production assistant is that dude who directed me in Time for Change. I was like, whoa, what's up, man? I saw, and I happened to hear his name, and I was like, that's not the same dude did he go to Full Sail? And they were like, yeah. And then he comes out and he's like, dude, I saw your name on there, Ronald Farnham. You were in my thing. I was like, oh my God, dude, it's such a weird, small world. So he did his bit at Full Sail, got his degree, went to LA and started working as a producer on one of them court TV shows.
That's amazing. That is amazing.
Before I even got into the entertainment business, I was doing a lot of writing and editing for the Department of Defense as an intelligence analyst and a counterterrorism analyst. So I learned a lot about writing and editing and production and who your audience is. I would have to write a top secret paper and then break it down to secret, and then for official use only, and then unclassified, and then for the internet, for the internet ready. So I really learned how to tighten up my word usage and write effectively and just, use what I need to get the point across. And that's how screenwriting is, screenwriting isn't really, you're not there to do a lot of exposition and tell this whole big picture. You're there to write the directions for the director and the DP to shoot the visual movie. You want to show more than what you're saying, and let the visual parts. So I write really visually for my screenplays. If I was going to give advice to anybody as a screenwriter, you got to really see it and break it down into simple commands. John stands up, period. John walks across the room, period. That's probably two different camera setups. John stands there for a minute and looks out the window and thinks, period. He turns around. John turns around as the front door opens. You know what I mean? So you're breaking it down by what the camera is showing you, and learning how to write succinctly. So you're getting the point across. You're conveying personality, action, intention, emotion in every little line and word that you're writing. And, write visually for screenwriters. Write visually. Check out my book, How to Write a Screenplay in 30 Days or Less. It's on Amazon. It teaches you how to write your screenplay, the outline. I got a screenplay, an outline, and a synopsis in there. And then the formatting, and then how to come up with ideas and titles. And so part of the and then, you write your beginning first, and then you write your ending. Because in order to get from the beginning through the middle, you got to know where you're going. And if you have a good beginning, you got to write your ending next. And that way you have a path, you know where you're going. And then you create all these obstacles that take you from the beginning to the end, to that final goal and climax that the main character or characters are trying to achieve, whether it's saving the world from, the government, or alien invasion, or whether it's getting married to the girl of your dreams, or surviving a disease, or whatever it is. You just got to know where you start, where you're going to finish, and then you just create a bunch of crazy mayhem and obstacles to the path to get there.
That makes sense.
And make it succinct.
That makes sense.
And then my book teaches you how to turn your screenplay into a book and publish it.
Yeah, that makes sense. And the book will be posted and link after this is finished recording. But yeah, you heard it here from Mr. Ronald himself. But when it comes to sidetrack. I'm not mistaken, but from also reading about you, you're also working on something called Penis this year?
Called what?
It's called Penis, I think.
Tennis?
Yeah.
Like the game tennis, like TENNIS?
Oh, no. So, or like when you talked to me a couple of weeks back, when I was reading your what is it called, the IMDb page, it says something.
Oh, Penance.
Penis. Yeah, Penis.
PENANCE.
Yeah, Penis.
Yeah, that's shot out in San Diego. That's an ongoing horror movie that the director's been working on. I played Detective Wachowski, and I booked that role online and went out there and shot for 2 days. Stayed there overnight, shot in the night time, and then the next day. And then I moved out of state. I was supposed to go back and shoot some more scenes, but I think that he finally finished it. I haven't seen it. I've been in some stuff I haven't really seen.
Yeah.
So, but I'm in it. I don't know if it's doing well. I don't know how it's doing, but I'm in some projects out there. I played a lot of different stuff when I was in LA. I can't even remember. I used to have a big scrapbook of all my vouchers, my acting vouchers, because when you go on set, you get given paperwork you got to fill out, and you get your voucher. It's like your receipt that you were on set that day, and it's got the name of the production, the role that you played, how much you got paid, the date. And I saved a lot of them because I was like, hey, man, who knows what life is going to be like? Maybe one day there'll be a museum named after me, and they'll have all my vouchers from all my show, stuff I worked on. But I worked on a ton of stuff out
Okay,
there in
that's cool.
LA. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
And that was San
And
Diego. One time I got hired as an actor, go down to San Diego. I worked in San Diego twice.
mm-hmm.
Uh, I went down there once on the movie Tenants, and then
Mm-hmm.
I went down there. I got hired to be a bidder at an art show, a real art auction, an auction, right there on a beautiful hotel right there on the ocean. And I got
Mm-hmm.
paid like $200 to go there and pretend that I was rich and bid on stuff that I would never even pay, wasn't even going to pay for, to drive up the prices. I
uh,
swear that's true.
that's
I
funny.
got paid to be a bidder. Every time the auctioneer touched his watch and like looked a certain direction, we were supposed to bid, put up our panel. Hey, sold to the bid $500. Do I have $500? And he'd look at his watch, and I go, yeah, I got $500 on there. Okay, $500 going once. Well, do we have 550 booming? And it was just to drive up prices and sell stuff.
That's funny. I don't remember the last time I even
Yeah,
did anything bidding wise, but I remember doing something like that before with a couple of friends. They were just like bidding for a bunch of auction off stuff like trumpets, guitars, like, and these wasn't just guitars. These were like guitars from like former, I guess, rock band members or something that was worth a lot of money.
yeah.
And then we just kept raising up the prices. We didn't had the money for it. And then when it was one guitar that was, I think it was from I think it's from one of the members of the band, Europe, if I'm not mistaken, because that's one of my favorite bands. And we started like just going up, like up in the price back and forth. And then what really got us is this one of our friends, uh, I think it was like 200,000 they was going for. And then one of our
Oh
friends
my
actually
God.
he was like 200,000 over here. Then the bidder was like over there once, twice sold. And then at the end of it, he actually paid for it. We looked at him, was like, so when were you going to tell us that you had the money to get this? He was just, look, I was just going along
Yeah,
with it. But that kind of threw us. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna stop betting before I end up paying for something I don't got the money for, which kind of
yeah, yeah.
threw
They
me
take
off.
that stuff seriously.
Yeah, I was like, you know what? Let me just stop raising my hand, so so I won't accidentally get something I know I'm not going to pay for. But in regards to the future and all that, because I know you explain advice to people that's trying to get in creative directing and all that. What is like the future? Because I know you explained AI, I know you explained directing, like a lot of other films as well. But future as an actor producer, like what is like on a personal level? What are you expecting like coming from the future, like doing new works and everything?
Uh, well, I got two movies I'm about to go into production. Horoscope's going to come out this year, and I've
Mm-hmm.
got a decent role in that.
Okay.
And I think that's going to do really well, and it's going to bring me to another level of
Mm-hmm.
acting and directing and writing,
Mm-hmm.
as far as my status goes, probably in the entertainment biz.
Mm-hmm.
And because I have a really good post production distribution set up, and that's going to
Mm-hmm.
get me good visibility.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna about to start working on my next two movies, and I'm gonna be starring in one and just directing and using AI for the other, but letting me direct these Hollywood names.
Mm-hmm.
So in this, in the next 3 to 5 years, I think that's going to push me even to another level now above that. And then I'm going to continue to produce movies every year, and the
Mm-hmm.
technology for AI is only going to get better.
I know.
And so, not everybody wants to make movies. I love making movies. So I think I'm in a good position where I'm about to steadily climb the ladder
Mm-hmm.
of the fame and fortune, ladder for the entertainment business.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going to keep plugging away at it and doing what I love anyway. I love to write. I love to act.
Mm-hmm.
I love to produce and create motion pictures and books. So I have a goal of making 100 features and writing 100 books. And
Nice.
And if I just achieve that goal, I think that'll be prolific enough to where at the end of everything, if I live as long as I plan on living, then I will be able to be like proud of my body of work and my status in the industry. So I have a long-term vision of success, huge
Hey,
success.
it's better to have that envision, that long term vision of certain stuff, that you want to do. I mean, I already know you want to achieve it, so it's just you're saying.
Yeah, I am achieving it. Like I said I was going to do this thing 15 years ago
Mm-hmm.
when I resigned from the government. I was working for the Department of Defense in 2006. I had a choice.
Mm-hmm.
I had to either go to Germany and pick up some intel
Mm-hmm.
for SOCOM, Headquarters Special Operations Command, or I was going to open up my play as me as R.P. McMurphy in Cuckoo's Nest for
Mm-hmm.
the local theater I had the lead role. And so I was like, I resigned from the DOD. My passion is the entertainment business, and that's going to pay my bills. And
Yeah.
so since 2006, 18 years, I've just been steadily achieving all my goals that I've been setting. You know, I've had to adjust to different situations in life and things that happen and stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
I always keep my eyes on the long-term prize, which is make 100 movies, write 100 books, no matter how
Yes.
long it takes. So as long as I keep doing that and working at that, then I don't really have to worry too much about anything because I always have goals that I'm working on. I
Mm-hmm.
never don't have something to do. You know what I mean? Like there's not a time where I'm doing something where I wouldn't just stop and sit down and stare at the wall and not do anything. Like
Mm-hmm.
I always have something I can be doing, whether it's writing or some part of production of a movie or a book. Or I also play baseball and do sports, and I'm an
Mm-hmm.
umpire. I'm a baseball umpire, so I do a lot of. I work in a lot of baseball and sports. I'm looking to get back to the gym to play more basketball. I haven't played in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I get bogged down with working on my stuff to where I'm staring at the computer and working on the computer a lot. And
Mm-hmm.
that is the one thing that sometimes I get a little bit out of balance as far as
Mm-hmm.
what I'm going to do during with my, what I'm doing. Like I want to be able to balance my health and activity with my creative process and then, recreation time.
Mm-hmm.
So I do get a little out of balance with that sometimes, but I work on managing that, you know. But I always have something I can be working on.
Yeah, that makes sense. You always got to have something to work on and everything. And as I said before, best of luck to those things. I know making stuff isn't easy. It's not simple. It's very challenging. I know that for sure. And just keep. I don't want to say keep having fun with it because that's what I love to do when I work on things. Just keep having fun and and I try to you know try to at least have fun doing what you love to do because that's why I always see things doing and everything. But yeah, that's pretty much all the questions from me. You pretty much explained almost everything because like being an author and then working on stuff for so long, and then you got other stuff coming out a part of your series, which I'm looking forward to, and I put the link in the description for. But just doing your thing and then seeing you doing your dreams and continue doing them. And, me being a kid and back in 2006, I kind of see that as influence. So I appreciate you, being an influence for that and everything.
Thanks. Yeah. When I was on America's Got Talent throwing plungers, uh, I know I was out there as comic relief, but I did say something during that moment where I was like, look, I just want to show people that they have talents that they can use that they might not know that they have so that
Mm-hmm.
they can just learn that you take what you got and you achieve your goals by going for it. Like if I had just looked at that audition and not done anything and not decided not to do it, I would have never had the opportunity to be on Guinness, to be on America's Got Talent, to give Howard Stern
Mm-hmm.
my book. to have all the different views and people commenting. Like I go places and sometimes people recognize me. It's weird, but for that, but if you in life, if you decide to take action and you show up, then good things are going to happen. Take action and show up for the action. Like our interview, we tried to do it yesterday. It didn't work out. So what? Eventually we're going to show up. Okay, let's do it today. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, I'm gonna be late. That's all right. I'll be there in an hour. Can I be in an hour? Yeah. All right. We showed up and we made it happen. And now we made history right now. This video gets recorded. It goes down into the record, into the recording books, whatever platforms it goes on. And now we created it. We just made something. It's out there because we showed
Yeah.
up. We had intention and we had the desire, and the emotional connection to wanting to get there and do that thing. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what I've learned is to show up. In fact, when I was living in LA, I had gotten booked on they were shooting this movie called The Gambler. It was
Mm-hmm.
the revised version starring Mark Wahlberg, The
Mm-hmm.
Gambler. The original
Mm-hmm.
movie, The Gambler, starred Kenny Rogers, and it was
Mm-hmm.
back like in the 70s or 80s. Kenny Rogers did this song called The Gambler, on a warm summer's eve, on a
Oh
train
yeah.
bound for nowhere. I met up with the gambler. You got to know when to hold 'em. You know that song?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you might not, but anyway, Kenny Rogers. They made a movie called The Gambler in a old Western style. So Mark Wahlberg remade it, and I was the extra on that movie in one of the gambling scenes in this mansion up on a cliff in Malibu. And I filmed all night. I filmed there one day, and then I had to go back the next day and be on set at like 6:30 a.m.
Mm.
So I left set like that night, and I had to be back the next day. And I had like I went out and I partied with my friends, and I met this girl, and we were up. I was up all night, and I was drinking and smoking pot, and was you know didn't sleep. I was drunk and stoned, and showed up to work an hour and a half late. Showed up to
Mm-hmm.
set in L.A. Now, and I had to be there at 6:30 a.m. And if you're late, the production team will call central casting and say your dude was late. And I showed up at I had to be there at 6:30. I showed up at like 8:30, and there was
Mm.
nobody down in the parking lot we would all show up on the beach in Malibu at this big parking lot, and then they put us in production buses and drove us up to the mansion on the hill. I got there and there was nobody there except one dude sitting at a table for the production signing people
Mm-hmm.
in, and I had my wardrobe, and I was I was looking rough. I hadn't slept. I hadn't shaved. I hadn't showered. I was still in my clothes from that day before, which I had to wear in the set anyway on that scene for continuity.
Mm-hmm.
So I show up, I sign in, and the production guy's like, "Hey, there's the van going up to the mansion right now. You just go hop in that one." He didn't even yell at me or say anything, and didn't care I was late. I hop in the van with the DP, the director of photography for this Mark Wahlberg film. So him and I ride up the mountain and we're talking and stuff. And I get there and I'm standing there and I get out of the bus, I get out of the van and I'm standing on line and I'm the very last person in line. And the line wraps all the way around the mansion from the back of the mansion all the way to the front door. And I'm standing there at the very back of the line, like trying to sleep, standing up. And the production assistant comes out the front door and she's looking at people and she points at me and she goes, "You come with me." And I was like, "Damn it. See, I was late. My bad. I'm going to get in trouble now. They're going to report me to Central. I'm going to get suspended for a month. I'm not going to be able to work." So she brings me in there and she sits me down at this poker table with this dealer, this Korean woman. And then Mark Wahlberg walks up. And then for like 4
What?
hours, me and Mark Wahlberg and this dealer shot this scene where I lose in cards to Mark Wahlberg and he makes me mad and I grab my briefcase and I storm out. So the point of the story is at least I showed up. And even though I was 2 hours late, I still showed up. I had to be there. I couldn't just bail. And I accidentally wound up, having something good turn out as something that could have been bad where I could have got suspended. So the point is, even if you're going to be late, just show up and then see what happens.
Yeah, you heard it
Worst that
here
can
first.
happen is you get suspended, you get fired or whatever. Oh well.
Well, yeah, you heard it from Mr. Ronald. just gotta show up regardless. But at the end of the day, gotta make things happen like we made it here happen today, and just keep it pushing. Mr. Ronald, I really appreciate you joining me. It was such a really fun episode to learn about your history, your career, and everything too. And as I said to you before, best of luck on your movie and everything. And hopefully, you kick everybody asses at the movie festival and all that. Even though it's not a competition, but just have fun at the festival and kick everybody's ass and and keep releasing more stuff. I'll be checking it out.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it, Anthony.
No problem, no problem. So everybody checking out this episode, this will be uploaded later on tonight. And thank you for checking everybody out, Mr. Ronald. I really appreciate you joining me. And yeah, let's continue making it happen.